Merry Christmas. This is Sonia Cato Howard, and I am partnering up with my business partner, Kimmy. And we are doing E-Women. We have an Atlanta E-Women online meetup that we meet up every Tuesday, every first and third Tuesday at 9 p.m. And we also, in between, I do Wednesday night Facebook Live, and then also Kimmy does Thursday Facebook Live. So we hope that you will join in. Tonight I want to talk about, first, Merry Christmas. I don't know if I said that, but tonight I want to talk about, are you a angry black woman? And if so, what's your trigger? You know, Iyanla had a show, Fix My Life, and she did a series with angry black women. And one of the things that she discovered was that these women had no fathers. They had bad husbands, bad boyfriends who didn't take care of their children. They were abusive. These women were hard-working women who were just trying to make it. And in the process, they became angry and mean because of some of the things that they had gone through. So on this episode, Iyanla helped them to figure out what their triggers were, and also to help them work through their past. Some of them had been raped or abused or molested, and so these women, you know, they worked through, you know, their issues. Well, I was one of those women who was an angry black woman. I would go from 0 to 100. In fact, I must confess, I probably had a fist fight about 3 years ago. Yes, I know, the Christian woman. So I would get upset and argue and fight, you know, and things would set me off on the wrong foot. I mean, it's a couple of things that really trigger me. One of them is, you mess with my babies. Both of my ex-husbands know, if you treat my baby wrong, I'm coming for you. If you talk to her wrong, I'm coming for you. So that's one thing that if anybody mess with my baby, that's a trigger. That's still a trigger today. The other thing is, if you try to do me wrong, if you try to take advantage of me, if you try to take my money, if you try to lie on me, you know, any of those things will trigger me and make me go from 0 to 100. So I was having nightmares, the same exact nightmare for 20 years. It was a nightmare where I woke up, I was in the military, and I was panicking, like, oh my God, what happened? How did I get to this point where I signed up for the military again? How bad did it get that I had to sign up again? And what am I going to do with my kids? Who's going to take care of them? I don't know where they're going to station me. Don't get me wrong, I love the military, but this is what I would go through. And so a friend of mine was saying that I could have PTSD. So she recommended that I go talk to a psychiatrist, and then I did, and they sent me to a therapist. And I ended up just boo-hooing as soon as I walked into the room. I was just crying and just, you know, just uncontrollably. But what she helped me to do was she helped me to figure out why was I angry? Why was I going from 0 to 100? And one of the things that I figured out is that if you, well, I can't say a whole lot, but something happened in the military a long time ago. And because of the way that it was handled, whenever I get in a situation that's similar to that, it reminds me of that subconsciously. And so I get defensive. Like, okay, you're not going to take nothing from me. You're not going to talk to me in any kind of way. You're not going to take advantage of me. And so it'll take me to that 100 level where I'm screaming, acting like a mad, angry black woman and showing out. Okay, you need to call the police on me because I'm trying to fight. Yep, me, the Christian woman. Okay, so she helped me to figure out how I had got to that point of being that angry, and also that every time an episode would happen, I would have a nightmare. So every time I would show out, the same night I would have a nightmare. So what she showed me how to do was to identify whenever my trigger was happening so that I could control the situation. Now, of course, there are sometimes you can't control other people, right? So those people that I couldn't control, I removed them out of my circle. And then the part that I could control, I learned that, okay, I'm in a situation where what? You gonna take my what? You finna do what to me? Okay, you know when you getting upset, right? You know when you get there and you can feel the anger boiling up. You can feel the heat in your head. You know when you getting there, when you getting to the point where you getting ready to fight somebody, right? And so I learned to play it all the way out. So, okay, Sonya, what you gonna do? Are you gonna fight? Are they going to call the police on you? Are you going to jail? I mean, play this thing all the way out. Is that the outcome that you want? Okay, no, it's not the outcome that you want. So what can you do about the situation? I can leave. I don't want to leave because they treat me bad. Yes, but you need to leave, right? So I would talk myself through it. And then it took a while for me to really feel good about it. But I would back down, even if they were taking advantage of me, even if they were lying on me, I would back down and walk away. And then what I found out was that 5 or 10 minutes later, I had calmed down. And so I had not shown out, and nobody had to call the police. And I found out that I didn't have a nightmare that night. So it was phenomenal to me to figure out that, wait a minute, I can control this. I don't have to have my foot on somebody's neck. I can control this. So that's what I want to ask you tonight. I want to ask you, what is it? Are you an angry black woman, first of all? If you are, why? Are you the manager that can't nobody stand to work for? Are you the employee that everybody that always get fired? Are you the friend that can't nobody stand, gonna show out every time you take you somewhere? Are you the family member that's gonna show out every time? You the person that can't get along with the siblings? Are you? And if so, why? Why are you like that? What is it about that scenario that is setting you off? What's happening? Did somebody say something that reminded you of something that happened a long time ago? Did somebody do something that reminded you of something? Of course, it took for me to hear for a therapist to tell me, to point it out to me, right? But what I'm saying to you is to think about it. Every time, because there is also a consequence of when you do this, what happens. For me, I had a nightmare. After the dust had settled, after I had showed out, okay, and was embarrassed, I had a nightmare. So there's a consequence of you showing out and getting up to that point, letting yourself get up to 100, right? It's a consequence of that. You need to figure out what the consequence is. You need to figure out what's triggering you, right? And then you need to figure out what you can do, because you can feel yourself getting to that point, and then you got to make a decision not to do it. So that is what I would like for you to do. Sometimes you cannot sometimes you may have to remove the people out of the situation, right? You got a person that call you, cuss you out, hang up, click, hang up the phone. You got a person that show out every time, that make you take you to that level, leave. Don't invite that person, okay? Just don't invite them, okay? Or you got a situation where you at a work, you got a boss who always treats you some kind of way, right? You got to figure out, what can I do in this situation? I can leave the job. I can look for another job. I can figure out what you can do, but you need to figure out what you can do to keep you from getting to that point. And then you need to figure out, what's the consequence. It's a consequence behind this, right? It's a consequence behind you showing out. It's something that's happening that needs to stop, that happens after you do that. So, I remember I wanted to talk about the fact that, you know, it took for me to talk to a therapist, right? Some people feel a little stigma with talking to a therapist. For me, it made me feel great. In fact, it showed me, wow, this thing works. Talking this thing all the way out, coming up with a plan of how to react, figuring out what triggers me, you know, I suggest that you see a therapist, see a life coach. Sometimes life coaches can do that. In fact, that's the reason why I decided to life coach, because I saw it worked on me. So I'm like, okay, wow, you can help people really transform their thoughts, you know, about what they're crying over. Just like with Iyanla, these girls was going through things, but when they walked away, they identified what was triggering them, what was upsetting them, what happened in the past that made them feel that way, and that's why they're angry all the time. So that's my challenge for you, to figure out what's taking you to 100. Figure out what it is, work on it, get some help, see a therapist. You know, I'm always going to tell you to see somebody, get some help, and, you know, make a decision to change it. Make a decision to do something different. Back up. Don't invite the person. Do whatever you have to do. So, as always, that's my message. I wanted to challenge you. I want you to catch Kimmy, my partner. You can catch her at KMAC with Facebook Live, and of course catch us on eWomen, Atlanta eWomen online meetup, which is every first and third Tuesday at 9 p.m. Thanks again for watching.